Hare Krishna, my dear devotees.
Dev Krishna.
Wonderful to be with all of you. And my obeisances to everyone. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha, kripa sindhubhya evacha, patitanang pavanebhyo
Dev
vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo
namaha.
Namo.
And our prayers to Srila Prabhupada for his. What are the three things I usually say? I generally ask for three things to Prabhupada. Anybody remember? Let's just
Remain humble, to empower you.
uh,
How to speak
that
something Krishna conscious.
empower is one.
Uh, um,
This is just what I say. This isn't anything from scripture.
yeah.
It's just I say the same thing every week. For his empower,
Welcome
for
to be
his,
with you.
yeah, yeah, for his presence, for his empowerment, and for his blessings. Yeah, we could make that go anywhere we want, but yeah, I always pray that we got to be connected. Like you have a computer, it's got to be plugged in, or somehow hooked up to something, like hooked up to the internet. Like right now, we got to be plugged in. Otherwise, we're just home, or we'd be home alone. Correct? But when we plug in properly the internet, wow, we can be like anywhere. So when we plug into Krishna, it's like plugging into the internet. And our whole world changes, and we're plugging into. I mean, our whole life is basically darkness, total darkness, ignorance. And when we take the spiritual life, our whole everything changes. It's like wow, it's like we're plugging into the spiritual realm. We're actually um, our soul is beginning to awaken. It's been essentially sleeping, and we've lived in a lonely world, life after life after life after life after life with no contact. Can you imagine? There's no one to talk. You've never not talking to anyone for lifetime after life. You're all alone, life after life after life after life after life. And that if we're not there, let's say maybe you could watch movies, but it's not very satisfying. You watch your whole life. You may watch movies and see people and experience different emotions, but you're all alone. Like you see, you're alone in the theater. And that's really what's happening. We are somewhere in the region of the heart, and due to our senses, all these things are flashing before us. And we're thinking we're having a relationship with this person, that person. But it's like a movie. There's no reality to it, no substance to it. The souls are asleep. In other words, there's no, the connection that we're having. If everyone's spiritually asleep, there's no connect. There's no real connection. In other words, our identity isn't who we are, and someone else, whoever that, even our children, our parents, our friends, our pets, there's no reality to even their existence. In other words, all we're touching is false egos, false egos. It's like living in a movie. And our whole existence is very remote. But when our spiritual life begins to awaken, we're actually for the first time coming out of that virtual reality that we've been in for infinite number of lifetimes. Is everybody following this? Hare Krishna, Tirthaji.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I like you like that on your side. The side was good. We could.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't get on with my computer, and I just finished a Bible study. Francia was with me in the Bible study,
Oh,
so
nice.
sorry I was late.
Yeah.
So, anyone have any questions and no? Let's start with, does anyone have any epiphanies that they wanted to share?
Wait a minute.
Yes,
Yeah,
Francia.
I wanted to share what your first question was, could anyone relate to what you were just saying? And it really did flash by me that, yeah, when we awaken and then we start to realize that everything's so superficial, I started thinking of the various groups that I belong to and how it really is superficial, but not so with my kids, um, not so with certain friends that I can connect with because they're awake too. So it's almost like you need to have another person or another the party at the other end has to be awake too, or otherwise it feels superficial.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, some people are more awake than others, but most people, it's pretty superficial. I mean, even I think of my mother, who I loved unlimitedly, but she's gone. And that woman I knew was my mother does not exist anymore. Her soul is playing another role. Now, of course, I'm quite confident that she's a devotee now somewhere. She read the Bhagavad Gita. She read the entire Lilamrita. She chanted one round a day for many, many years. I'm very confident that she's, maybe born somewhere in South India. She's one of these real smart Indian guys that's like knows zillions of verses, and I'm convinced of that. But my mother, as I knew her, and I have her picture right next to my bed, and but kind of like maybe someone has a movie star they really like for some reason. They have a picture of them, but they never really have any contact with them. And so my mother's like she's a super mom. She played this beautiful role, and I had what seemed to be so real, but I'm realizing now that it wasn't until I came in contact with the devotees in Prabhupada that I really started to wake up. And again, I now that I also understand, my mind, especially Tirtha Prabhu, helped to open me up to Jesus. These people, that's real. And those that were fortunate enough to have a Christian mentor like Tirtha that really understands, deeply. Yeah, it's not self-realization. Waking up isn't unique to Krishna. It isn't unique to again, I don't know, so many. I don't know religions. I'm sure there's a little bit in all of them, some degree. But anyway, yeah, it's. But for me, the first real awakening was when I started reading the Bhagavad Gita, and I look back at my life before, and though it was full of all kinds of cool stuff, it was like going to a really cool movie. It was cool, a cool experience, but it's not. It's illusory. They're all illusory. My mom was a beautiful illusion. But anyway. Okay. Epiphanies? Questions? We only have one question. Did anybody besides Rasika Pujari have a question? Okay, we'll see if anybody can come up to one. Did everybody see Rasika Pujari's question? How many people saw his question? Raise your hand. Okay. So his question is interesting. It seems to morph between, it seems to start out somewhere with a good question, and it morphs into a more esoteric area, because it's all esoteric. But it goes in a different direction. So he is saying, my question for this week comes from the 10 offenses. How many people know the 10 offenses that are recited in our ISKCON and various groups? Who knows where these 10 offenses came from? Who made them up?
I'm going to go get my book.
No cheating.
Was
I'm
it
going
in
to cheat, Gurudev.
Huh?
Was it by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's in Chaitanya Charitamrita? I think I saw that. Right?
Where did it come from originally? What's the origin of the 10 offenses? Sometime back, I know we went over this because at one point we went over all the 10 offenses, what they were. And one of the first things that I explained was where they came from.
Right.
Who listed them?
Rupa Goswami?
Nope.
No.
Is it one of his servants and this is the one that went down in the ocean?
No.
Okay. I
I'm
forgot
going to look it up.
No. It's not easy, I don't think it's easy to find.
I'm cheating, so I have it in front of me, but I'm not going to say it.
Oh, you cheated, huh?
I cheated, so I do have it in front of me, but I'm not going to say it because I cheated.
Okay.
Go ahead and say. We can cheat.
No, it's
Is it
okay.
okay,
I mean, looking
Gurudev?
it up is fine. Where did it come from?
Okay.
Where is it?
Yeah.
It says authors Vyasadeva, book name Padma Purana section from the Brahma.
Oh,
Yeah, it's from the Padma Purana.
okay.
It's really, really ancient.
Yeah. No wonder we didn't know.
Yeah, it's from the Padma Purana. It's from the Padma Purana. It's not something that like okay, where did the four regular principles come from?
Prabhupada?
I think so. I think
he was making it something user friendly for American devotees, and he needed to find the basics, so he distilled it down.
Yeah. The reason that the 10 offenses don't go, I'm sorry, the four regular principles don't go way back. It's because he came to America where people were so loose that these are like, especially in the East, in India, it was like understood these are things that any gentleman follows. So, in fact, when Prabhupada had the first initiation ceremony, the four regular principles were not discussed. It wasn't part of the contract. 16 rounds, I believe, was part of the contract, but not the four regular principles. Yeah, the devotees, if you look back in the Lilamrita, it's discussed, where the devotees asked Prabhupada, is there anything more to it than just our chanting the four regular principles? And then this is after the first initiation. Then Prabhupada wrote it up and he posted it on the wall in 126 Second Avenue, those four regular principles. So, okay. One of the offenses is to preach to the faithless. Krishna also confirms this in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so now it starts to get.
Right. Yeah. And that.
Let's try to simplify this so we can go somewhere with it.
3 days. So like you put it on Monday, then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you take it off.
One of the.
Are you, as the host, Guru Dave, are you able to silence
I'm not
someone?
sure. How do you do that?
Just now.
You should have that.
Oh, under participants, maybe.
Yes.
I can't
You
go.
can.
Yeah, I can. You're right.
There you go. Perfect. Haribol.
Did I do it?
Yes, you did.
Okay. All right. So we're going to have to ask her to unmute herself when she comes back. So preaching to the faithless is one of the principles. So it doesn't mean that if we meet someone who is highly steeped in ignorance, that we don't still try to reach them somehow. I think this is the Bible quote. Was it Jesus, Tirtha Prabhu, who said, "Don't cast pearls before swine"?
Yes.
What was the context of that?
Well, the understanding of that is that you don't want to take something that is holy and sacred and, treat it like something that you would feed before the pigs. Jesus was instructing his disciples to preach, but also to understand that not everyone is ready for it.
Right. Correct. So if people can become offensive. And of course, this is especially in Jesus' time. That's before Lord Chaitanya. And but we want to take compassion on every living entity. So we'll try anyone, to see what they're interested, if they have any interest, like we're not the body, we're the soul, we're not this physical. I mean, that's pretty cool information. That's considered confidential knowledge. But it's interesting in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about confidential knowledge, more confidential knowledge, and most confidential knowledge. So we start out with some confidential, just the very basic. I mean, no living entities realize that they aren't their bodies. And even a yogi who can understand that he's not his physical body. What about the subtle bodies? That's also included, and we're not the body. Because Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, what are the 8 constituents of the body? Anyone? There's 8. I'll give you the first 2 to get you started.
Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego.
Yeah. So a yogi may come to the point of realizing he's not his body, and others, I'm sure, they could get some realization they aren't the gross body. And some yogis may come to realize they aren't the mind, and some yogis may come to where they realize that they're not the intelligence, but they can't go beyond the false ego. The only thing that will take us beyond the false ego is bhakti. It's impossible to break through it. It has to come from descending knowledge. So to even realize, so Krishna starts talking about that in the very beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, how we aren't the body, the soul is eternal. the soul's transmigrating. And any, like I've had to have the conversation, I often talk about Richard, my across the street neighbor where I used to live, who was just a gem, but and very intelligent and a real gentleman. But I'd try to have a conversation about how we're not the body. He just has no interest, or just can't get off the ground, though he's brilliant. He has a PhD in chemistry, and he was one of the top guys at DuPont for many, many years, a real big shot at DuPont. Smart guy. Can talk on any subject, except for we aren't the body, and so we don't want to disturb the minds of the faithless. That's also discussed in the Bhagavad Gita. We don't want to disturb someone's mind. So we try. So what if we can't talk to them? They're just like my friend Richard. He would just joke with me because I get cold real easy. He says, "You got to eat meat." Yeah, you got to eat. But he's teasing me because he knows I'm a vegetarian. He says, he didn't mean it to be mean in any way. He's just teasing me. But he's definitely not a vegetarian. And so what do we do if we can't talk to someone like that? We can't even get off the ground. Francia?
Oh, you need to unmute, Francia.
Oh, yeah. Francia, you need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, you keep loving them.
That's actually a good answer. That's a good answer. A pure devotee loves feels love and compassion for every living entity because they're all part of. He can see the pure soul, and that's a good answer. That wasn't what I was thinking, but that's a really good answer. We can give them prasadam.
Your bread.
But what is it about, Francia? Okay, now I'm going to take us deeper. Okay, we can give them my bread. What is it about my bread?
Your bread is infused. It's infused with Krishna.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you. That's the perfect answer. Absolutely. So like where I live on a property with a nice fellow, but he's never expressed any interest in my spiritual journey, though he's very respectful. He knows I'm a Krishna. He knows I'm giving classes all the time. He's respectful, but he's never shown any interest, and therefore I don't preach to him. But he loves my bread, and every time I bake bread, as soon as it's done, I'll take like at least 3-4 slices. I'll put it in a little Ziploc bag, and he really likes it. So to go a little deeper, we're going to feel people out to see if they have any interest. Are we getting their attention about karma? Like if somebody, you believe in karma. Oh yeah, well that's a pretty good start, right? Because from karma we can get into feeling a reincarnation. Prabhupada said, in like a needle, out like a plow. So of course the ultimate needle is the prasadam. But we can start with philosophy. But what we don't lead with is Krishna and the gopis, for example. We just don't go there unless they're ready to hear it, because that's really putting pearls before swine. They'll just make offenses. So we don't. So we don't care if some, faithful, faithless, anyone, a devotee is really their well-wisher.
Gurudev?
Yeah.
I just want to mention one other thing. Like in Honolulu, I was often part of the Sankirtan party
Oh yeah,
that would
nice.
go up and down Waikiki. So we'd be chanting and playing instruments, singing. And Francia, it, it was a hoot uh, because people, would come out of clubs, they would come out of all sorts of places, but they would begin to sing and chant and dance with us. Now, we would often have some prasad. We'd have like some cookies or something like that that had been made at the temple, and we'd have some literature. But what I saw, and I think this is how you were first attracted also, Gurudev, and one of the first ways I was attracted was the sound,
Yeah,
the
thank you.
the chanting, the singing, um, and people probably don't even know why it attracts them. But we'd have people dancing in the streets. So I just wanted to mention that
Well,
also. But
okay, here's to take us a little further. What about the people that, get a job?
yeah,
What
there
about
there
them?
are there are those,
And
and
what happens?
and here's my belief. Okay, Jesus told this parable about four different types of soil where people are scattering the seed. Some fell on rocky soil and it comes up quickly, but then it quickly dies and fades away. Other seed is picked up by the birds and taken away. And some seed falls among weeds. And so it continues to grow, but it's growing up with the weeds, and the weeds are choking it. And you can see the parallels to the conditions of people's hearts. And then the fourth soil is good soil, where it produces 30 or 60 or 100 fold from what was planted. So I think our job, as I see it, is to plant the seed. And Krishna, God, is the one who takes care of the nurturing and the soil. So I think even those people who may cover their ears, or when I try to talk to them about Jesus, and la la la, um, I think it still touches some place in their spirit. If someone is rejecting something, it's because there's something inside of them that is resisting it, but knows they are drawn to it.
Right. Yeah, especially the holy name. And that's what Lord Chaitanya, that's mainly what Lord Chaitanya did. Lord Chaitanya was not so much of a preacher. I mean, he preached to only the intelligentsia, only the very high class people, the yogis that were. Um, but Lord Chaitanya wanted his followers to just chant the holy name everywhere, and everywhere and anywhere, and anybody that hears that sound, even these guys, it's the seed. The seed goes in, and it's just a matter of time. So in the analogy that Tirth Prabhu was giving us, if you throw it on a rock, just lands on a rock somewhere, I would say that sooner or later, seed's protected, right? It's not going to germinate, but it's protected. Some seeds, they can last for, I mean, hundreds of years. And when they finally get to the right soil, that's even true with when I was a kid. It was so interesting. I was really into raising tropical fish, and I had a saltwater tank, and I was I was growing seahorses, and I had seahorses that bred. Anybody know about how how seahorses are born?
Are they born from the mother?
I'd have to go back to really, really study it. They're carried by the father. The
Ah,
the father carries the babies. So there's probably when they were copulating, the egg comes from the woman. He's got the sperm, but somehow it goes into his pouch, and
wow.
that's where they're born from. But the way you would eat these seeds, they're called brine shrimp, and they're like it's like a little seed, and they're all dry, and they can last for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. It's like in suspended animation. As soon as you put it in the seawater, I would just sprinkle it in from a can, and it's just like you know it's like little mustard seeds or something. It's smaller than that even, and you just put them in the salt water. Once they go into the warm salt water, the babies come. So
Wow.
kind of like that. So where I would go with that, with kind of an updated version of what Jesus said, the holy name. Um, I'd say with land on rock, it's just a matter of time until sooner or later it conditions come to where that seed's going to sprout. So if someone, this guy, he maybe hates God, he put like even Kamsa became purified by spiritual sound. He hated Krishna, but he became purified by it, and he became greatly benedicted by all of his sins were. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But he was killed by Krishna, and he obtained liberation. So, yeah, that's the real medicine, is the holy name. And if someone is sleeping, and most people, they're sleeping, they hear. I was a college student, but I was based spiritually asleep. I thought I'm this, 20. How old would I have been then? 19-year-old. I thought I was like a 19-year-old guy. It had nothing to do with my real identity. But somehow I heard that sound vibration, and it went in, and somehow by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, it relatively quickly, and wasn't right away, by the way. They gave me a Back to Godhead magazine. I kept it, and I read it, but I couldn't understand it. But somehow I kept it, and then several years later, it's when I got the Bhagavatam. I'm sorry, the Bhagavad Gita, and then it all. So I was kind of like a rock for a while. It landed, but it didn't. Nothing changed. I was back to my usual, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, or sex, drugs, and jazz. But yeah. So anyway, that's our kind of the holy name. It's so powerful. It now makes me think of Bhakti Siddhanta, when they were. Now this is going way back now, and they did have newspapers, and in the newspapers, there was articles about Bhakti Siddhanta's movement, the Gaudiya Math. This is maybe even before Prabhupada came along. I don't know, before he had, but it was stated that they would write articles in like, say, Kolkata about the Gaudiya Math. They were preaching and so on, and some of the articles were favorable and some were not favorable. But so who can tell the rest of that story? Does anybody know? I've never told this before. I'll bet Malati's heard.
Is that the one where his, I don't know, the most number of Krishna's names then is printed?
I know it.
Yeah.
Well, he had it, yeah. He didn't, but Bhaktisiddhanta didn't care about what was said in these articles. He didn't care if it was positive or negative. He wanted to know how many times was Krishna, the name Krishna, mentioned in these articles. That's all he cared about. He didn't care if it was positive or negative. I kind of find that a little hard to believe, but that's that's how it's described in the and it's probably in the Lilamrita, but it's definitely documented that he was primarily interested. I find it hard to believe that he, it was black and white, that he didn't want to hear anything about whether it's favorable or unfavorable. But his main concern was how many times was Krishna stated, because that's so purifying. Okay, so let's go on. Let me see what we can. So we only have one question here. Okay, now it gets kind of interesting. The question, it gets a little bizarre, and I don't know. Bizarre is not a good word, but it starts. The topic starts to change. He said, okay, so Krishna also confirms this in Bhagavad Gita. The soul is eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss, individual, indestructible, infinitesimal, naturally a servant of Krishna. And faithless, because it said we don't preach to the faithless, right? Okay. And faithless also does not fall into the category of lust, anger, greed, desire, envy, etc. Rasika says, I'm trying to figure out where faithless comes from. So is this a problem that arises from the soul or the body? I'm going to stop there. And who can tell us, how is it that we became faithless? That's kind of where he's coming from. We're
Yes,
in the
Gurudev, you got my question perfectly.
right. Okay, we're in the spiritual world. We're with Krishna. It couldn't get any better. Where does it come from?
I mean, you had described it before as being causeless. And I also think that, from Vaishnava literature I've read, it came, or from Christian literature, it came from a desire to be Krishna, to be God. But where did that desire come from?
Where did that come from is the question. So who can answer that? Where did it come from?
Causeless is what you said before.
That's right. That's the answer. It's kind of like this. We hear causeless. We hear misuse of independence, envy of Krishna. Where did it come from? How is that possible? And, well, basically that's the answer. It's kind of like we're not capable of understanding that. So it's kind of like, suppose you meet a blind person who's totally blind, has been blind since birth. How can you describe to them the color lavender? Where would you start? Well, we could start from the dark. Someone who's blind, how many people have been in a situation where you can't see your hand and it's so dark you can't see your hand in front of your face? That's pretty rare, actually. Usually it's light leaking in from somewhere. But has everybody had an experience where you're somewhere where you
Yeah.
can't see your hand in front of your face? But when
Yeah.
you open your eyes, what do you see? You do see one thing, right? What's the one thing we see? Close your eyes, put your hands over it. What do you see? What do we
Well,
see?
there are colors.
Yeah, there are some colors we see, but primarily we see what?
Dark.
Black, right?
Mhm.
Now, I'm just assuming this is true. I don't know. I'm sort of speculating that I don't think a totally blind person even sees black. Try to think. They don't see anything. There's nothing there.
It's true. I've seen testimonials on articles. They say basically close your eyes, imagine seeing out of your elbow. That's the analogy that they give. So they
Mm.
don't see black. It's just nothing.
Nothing.
And even I can't conceive that.
Right. Like in a cave, and that's where I've experienced total darkness. One of the places in a cave, when they turn off the lights, I see nothing. I mean, I don't see my hand. I see nothing. It's complete absence of any light. Yeah.
Maybe I would also, if I'm because they're long enough or something, even the black goes away. But yeah, there's no way to explain it to somebody what it's like to see.
If they haven't seen, I mean, I'm thinking it's hard to, if they don't understand what is the meaning of seeing, right? Because they
Correct.
can't see. So even darkness or black, they don't understand what is that.
Right.
Like we can understand.
So you can't explain it to them. It's not possible. Now, let's say, and this has happened before, let's say someone has, there's no optic nerve but let's say somebody's born with a defective optic nerve, there's nothing, but the doctor repairs it. Then it's like, and this just happened. And apparently it takes them a really, really, really long time to be able to be able to see. It's, maybe there's, I don't know enough about it. We'd have to read about the experience. It's so foreign to them. And anyway, the idea is that some things can't be explained. And this is one of the things that we just let it go. There's no way we can understand it. So someone who's totally blind will never understand unless somehow he's given vision. When Krishna gives that vision. And for all intents and purposes, everything we're seeing is a perverted reflection of real vision. Real vision will come when we go back to the spiritual world. The vision we're seeing, remember, we're down in the heart somewhere. We're getting these signals. But this isn't real vision. This is material vision. The beauty of the spiritual world is all we're seeing is again, a perverted reflection of what it is. And there's no way we can understand what it's like to really see Krishna and really see everything. We're getting some just perverted reflection of reality, of what vision is. We only have like a few colors, right? What's it, 8? Red, orange.
Well, the primary colors are
yellow.
red, yellow, and blue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's 3 primary, yeah. And then, so they break it. Yeah, we don't know what it's like to really see. We're so limited. Other species can see, much greater than we can see. Other species can hear way better than we can hear. And other types of even the sexual experience of animals is much, much greater than what can be experienced in the human. That's why some of the yogis, when they're mating, they take on, they literally, I don't know how this works, they take like an animal body and they mate, because animals have much stronger. Anyway, that's in the Bhagavatam. So yeah, our equipment's very limited. And if you go somewhere else, like let's say if you go to the moon, which is a heavenly planet, these eyes aren't going to do you any good. It's heavenly. Let's assume we went to the moon. You know, this is controversial. Prabhupada said we didn't go to the moon. He said we did. You know, but if we did, maybe we went to the moon. I don't know. But even if we did go to the moon, we don't have the right equipment to see the beauty of the moon. Even the heavenly planet, we've got this body with limited equipment. Okay, so we've answered that. Faithless. Why some people are, and I like when Prabhupada talks about, he gives the example, which we've discussed many times, is that you can wake up someone who was sleeping, but you can't wake up someone who is pretending to be asleep.
Mhm.
So people that are a little, like say for example, my friend Richard, who lived across the street, who's I really like him as a person, but he's just, you know, can't preach to him. If trying to preach to him is like, you know, wasting my time. So I found other ways to, you know, to engage him. He wants to be asleep. He doesn't want to hear about Krishna. He doesn't want to anything spiritual. But he'll come over to my house and help fix things. He's a really good fix-it guy. And he would come over to my place. This is the Hobbit house that I used to have. And he would come over and, you know, help me fix things and so on. He would do anything for me. I think I've gave you the example before. There was a homeless person. Somebody stole the homeless person's bike. He gave them his bicycle. He's a real nice person, pious, but anyway. Okay, so what else can we glean out of here? I'm trying to figure out where faithless comes from. Okay, we talked about that. Okay. How can we be faithless when we have the knowledge to be faithful? Just the knowledge is covered by hankerings. Does this make us faithless? I think this is back to the original question, that it's causeless. So if this is the case, why isn't faithful a quality of the soul? Well, that's okay, this is getting into new territory. So why isn't faithful a quality of the soul? Anybody want to, I see that as something interesting. Who wants to say something?
It seems to me like faithful is a quality of the soul. I mean, because we're all devotees at heart. So there has to be some quality of faithfulness in being a devotee, right?
Yes. What you're saying is correct. Where I would say this, we could ponder, is the fact that Krishna made us in such a way that we can be faithless. It's what makes love love. Krishna did not want to make us as automatons that were made to love him. There's no choice. We're like made to love. It's more interesting, the fact that let's say people in this world, they can either be faithful or not be faithful. It's what makes it kind of special. Is this making sense? It's what makes love sweet. It's kind of like if you hold a gun to somebody and say, you better love me, blow your brains out. It makes it sweet that we can love Krishna or turn away from Krishna. Hardly anybody ever does, but we have that option. And Krishna says, once you turn away and you come back, you'll never do it again. Malati, can you quote a verse from the Gita?
Can you give me the first line or the first word?
Mam
Mam
upecha.
mam eva vyabhicharine bhakti-yogena sevate. Not that one.
Mam upecha punarjam
Oh, mam
dukkali
upecha.
mashashvatam.
Oh,
Ashram Maharaj quotes that all the time.
yeah. Oh, yes.
Mam upecha punarjama. Well, he's mainly trying to talk about dukkalayam shashvatam.
Upalayam
Dukkalayam
asyashvat.
shashvatam means that the material world is permeated with dukkalayam. That means it's miseries, and ashashvatam. Everything's temporary. By the way, that's something that we can't. Very difficult for us to understand how something can be, everything can be eternal. We're just used to everything being temporary. Everything comes to an end. In the spiritual world, everything's eternal. I can't wait to find out what that's like. Here I'm comforted.
Not yet, Gurudev. You have another 50 years, 60 years to allow us to serve you. You can't say that, Gurudev.
Well, Krishna could give us that realization.
We need you. We need to serve you by your mercy, Gurudev.
But so dukkalayam ashashvatam. But Krishna says, those who come back, mam upechu punar janma. One who comes back to me, punar janma. We'll never do this again. But that's an interesting point that it is described that Krishna gives us, the jivas, the opportunity to turn away from him. And if we decide we want to be separate from Krishna, Krishna will always fulfill our desires. He gives us a whole material world. And you can go here and there and everywhere else. But Krishna comes with us. He loves us so much. We can turn away from him, but he won't turn away from us. He's right in our heart. Even we're a centipede, some freaky centipede. Krishna's right there in the heart of every living entity. That's his love. Oh my God, so I think we pretty much pulled off the hour with one question. Now that doesn't mean that I don't want questions in the future. Does anybody have a fresh question for us? Thank you. We can all thank
you.
I can share a realization, Gurudev. Or Lakshman Prabhu, if you have a question, you can ask.
It goes along. It's a realization kind of question as well, so it's complementary to our discussion. As you're speaking, Gurudev, so if I understood correctly, so we can't really appreciate faithfulness. This is the question. We cannot appreciate faithfulness if we aren't faithless. If we couldn't fully appreciate the love of God if we didn't have that choice of misusing our independence. Is that correct?
I don't think my thoughts are, and I'd like to hear other thoughts, that most people don't do that. Most people don't turn away from Krishna. A few goofballs do, but that's my understanding, is that no, we don't have to experience what we're experiencing. That's my understanding.
Okay.
I can't give you anything from Shastra. But
I'm thinking of some. I'm sorry, Gurudev.
Go ahead. No,
I'm thinking of something Jesus said, and I continue to ponder it.
That could be helpful. Please.
Well, Jesus gave an example of two people. Anyway, in the example that he gave, he talked about two people who owed debts, and one of them had a small debt, and the lender forgave him his debt. another person had a huge debt, and he also forgave that debt.
Hmm.
And Jesus asked the person who was listening to him, which one of them will love the lender the most? And the person responded, well, I suppose the one who has been forgiven the most. And Jesus said, the one who has been forgiven loves little, but the one who has been forgiven much loves much. Now, I'm reflecting on your comment. I'm just chewing it over. That those of us,
We have to explain that further. Somehow it went over
yeah,
my head. It went over my
okay.
head.
But those of us
The
who have,
punchline. Explain the
yeah,
punchline.
yeah. So those of us who have experienced much grace, much mercy, our lives have been completely changed, completely transformed. We love God from a place of so much gratitude. We've experienced so much mercy. Now, Jesus was also telling this parable for those who considered themselves righteous, who are self righteous, didn't see much need for forgiveness. So for them, that they didn't have so much love because they had never seen how much mercy they needed.
You know, that's making me. It's making me go. It's giving me some thoughts. When we advance in spiritual life, the more advanced we become, the more we realize how tiny we are, which is why when Krishna Das Kaviraj, who wrote the Chaitanya Charitamrita, great exalted devotee, he prays that Jaghai Matai Hoite Muni Se Papishta, I'm more sinful than Jaghai and Madhai. And then he says, Purishera Kita Hoite Muni Se Lagishta. Purishera means stool. Kita means worms. I'm like a worm. I'm lower. I'm lower than a worm in stool, because they realize how great God is. And they really, so I think, yeah, it's a blessing when we start, because, I know for myself, I feel really fortunate that Krishna's come to get me, but I still don't realize how fallen I still am, and how sweet it is the more I'm realizing how I'm really nothing. It gets sweeter and sweeter, and we're so much more appreciative. It's like the love grows even more. The love for Krishna grows more. The appreciation for Krishna's love to come and get us. It's kind of along those lines. Does that make sense? Well, it may or may not make sense so far as what Jesus had said, but somehow it was getting me thinking along
Yeah.
those lines, that I'm realizing more and more how why would Krishna even want me?
Right.
Why would he want me?
Right.
I'm like, no, I'm useless. He's Lakshmis and goddesses of fortune and Radharani. What the hell's he need me for?
Right.
I'm like a little worm, a little,
Mhm.
lower than a worm in stool compared to, but
Right.
somehow Krishna loves us. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how Jesus called some of the most faithless people because they were the ones who had the greatest capacity for faith.
Mm, yeah.
And in the same way, when Prabhupada came, he dealt with some of the most faithless people
Yeah.
who had the most capacity.
Yeah. I was very faithless. I wasn't like you, Tirtha Prabhu, or I think everybody else here. I wasn't. I definitely wasn't looking for God. I was I was out to enjoy. Coltrane, give me some Coltrane, a little weed, a little, some ladies. I'm good to go. And if Krishna could be, something else cool, add that in too. I'll take anything where I can find some pleasure. And I was convinced I'm going to go to med school. I'll make a bunch of money. I'll have a family. Um, I really wasn't looking for God. He just this mercy, super super mega mercy. Okay. Anyway, I think we got it. We did our hour together. All right.
I think Rasika Pujari Prabhu had a realization he wanted to say.
Okay,
Oh
please.
no, Gurudev was talking about his bread, so that's all I was thinking about. Everything else just went over my head. But when I went to see Gurudev, he offered me one piece of bread, and I was being shy because we don't do that in our spiritual master's house, right? We don't allow them to serve us. But so I ate the one piece of bread, and then Gurudev came back to me and he said that no one's ever said no to a second piece. So I definitely took the second piece of bread. So everything else Gurudev said went above my head, but I was just thinking about that bread. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is the spiritual vision. Gurudev had given a class long time ago, and he said that, there's beautiful music playing, but we just can't hear it, because the radio waves, they're playing the music. We don't have the capacity to hear it right now. So in the sense, as we grow in Krishna consciousness, we have a better realization and we start gaining that spiritual vision. So those are my only two things but Gurudev said bread, so my attention was immediately caught because I've never had bread like that. So
Now I'm making my bread with a special flour, type of flour called einkorn. How many people have heard of einkorn berries?
You grind them, Gurudev, you grind them in your grinder?
Okay, all the wheat that we eat has been hybridized from these ancient grains, and it's like super super hybridized, and it's not that healthy, which is why a lot of people have problems eating bread. And so anyway, I could read you something, but we're past our time.
Well, we look forward when we all come together sometime of having some of that.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a very very ancient grain, and that's what I'm making my breads with now. It's much much healthier, and it just has a better flavor. It's more expensive for me to buy the grains, but I mean, it's nickels and dimes. Um, it's it's really good stuff. It's much 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 healthier. For example, the number of chromosomes in the original breads, of which einkorn is one of those originals, it's not. There's like a whole lot more chromosomes. It's just much more complicated. The hybrid grains, and anyway, they were made to make things rise more, and this, that, and the other. But the einkorn is just a really old-fashioned stuff that's super healthy. And a lot of people, especially people that have, again, problem eating bread, they can tolerate much much better the einkorn. If you want to read about it, it's einkorn. If you just do a search for einkorn, einkorn. So I'm now been buying. I can get it on Amazon.
Oh,
I'll get 25 pounds of einkorn flour, and I put it in the freezer, and then and the fresh, when you take those grains and grind them fresh, it's a world of difference. So yeah, it's really the breads. They come up even more.
Right.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you,
And we'll see you
Gurudev.
next
Wonderful
week.
Hare
chat.
Krishna, Gurudev.
Caitlin, stay on for a minute because I wanted to
Oh,
talk to you for a minute. So I'm
okay.
gonna end now.
Oh, you've been called to the principal's office.
Oh no.
Ask for bread. Ask for bread.